Get ready.
Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review, the show where we have a good look and chat about the various television idents that we have come to know and love over the years. And for this instalment, we continue our look into the many idents from CITV, this time taking a look at their most up-to-date efforts, first issued in 2018. So last week on the Ident Review, we looked at a set of idents from CITV that debuted in 2013. It's fair to say that my thoughts and opinions on that set were mixed at best. So can this new 2018 batch make me any more impressed? Well, we're about to find out. And with that, let's take a look at our first ident of the day, Boombox. So right away I see some instant good and instant bad. The good is the animation used and the concept. Even though boomboxes are a rarity amongst kids these days, it's nice that CITV is honouring history by including them. As viewers of a certain age will remember, boomboxes at one point were inescapable. The colour schemes work well too, although I'm not a fan of the stark white background in use here. That's where the instant bad for me comes in. I know having a white background is almost like offering a blank canvas to be painted with all sorts of things, but even though there are things moving and the letter C bouncing off the boombox, the white background just feels like it's dominating the whole space. I'm low-key hoping this isn't the status quo for the rest of the set. Let's find out with our next ident, Skateboard. Okay, so my worst fear about this set has already come true. It seems that the stark white background is here to stay, people. I suppose one upside of it is that the colourful animations stand out a lot more, but to me, the white is just so overpowering. On the ident itself, it's fine enough, gotta promote that safety by giving the C a helmet, but the little voice they add to it is just a little annoying. What kid these days says "wee" when skateboarding? Are kids still skateboarding today? Anyhow, enough of feeling old, let's move on to what we have next, and our next ident is Goal. I find this one quite neat in its concept. From 2 seconds in, you would instantly assume that the C will score a winning goal. Instead, it kicks the ball and hits it perfectly off the crossbar, still eliciting screams from an off-screen crowd. What I like about this is that crossbar challenges, as they are known, are still something that's very popular, not just amongst children, but also popular online. I know it was around 5 or 6 years ago now, but I remember watching one of the first of the Sidemen's earliest videos together, and sure enough, that was a crossbar challenge. So props to the team at CITV for including something that kids will relate with. Without making it overtly cringy, which I think is what the skateboarding variant did, to be honest. But moving swiftly onwards now to our next ident today, and it's titled Desert Island. Honestly, I think this is the dullest one so far. Sure, it's charming, the fact that the crab bumping into trees causes all the coconuts and the remainder of the CITV logo to fall, it's cute, but that's about it. The animation here also just feels very uninspired and unimaginative. And this always baffles me, not just with CITV but with any kids channel. If you're targeting children whose imagination is completely through the roof compared to that of many adults, then why not attempt to create things that will either spark or feed that imagination, instead of mainly white, very lazy efforts such as this? Let's see if our next ident can do anything better. And that next ident is Pinata. Now this one is a prime example of a missed opportunity. There's a lot right despite the white background limitation. The colours are nice, bright and vibrant, the animation used is well done, but the main thing that I think is missing is the contents of the pinata itself. It's well known amongst any child that when you break a pinata open, all sorts of things are going to fall out. Mainly candy, but let's face it could be anything. So even though it's great that the ITV part of the CITV logo is concealed within the pinata, but I think it would add so much if loads of other random bits and pieces fell out of it as well. Kids by this point know what the CITV logo looks like, so how about give them lots of little things that they can spot? Maybe little references to shows on the channel? Just needed that little something extra for me. Right then, let's jump to what we have next, and we have Treasure Chest. Okay, it's variants like this that just drive in the fact that a white background filling the screen does not work. For an ident that is mainly going for an undersea theme, I think it's so important that you then use the blues that the sea offers. Give kids that great feeling of exploring the depths where treasure can be found, as well as a vast array of fish. Not this, where you see a chest and it's alluding that the sea is underwater, but the lack of sea blues just makes this such a dull watch. I would even go as far as to say this looks like a demo pitch, and they just haven't added the colours. Really disappointed with this one in particular. It may sound like a nitpick, but if you're doing something that is underwater, please just add in some sort of blue. But now we move on to our next ident variant, and that variant is Flying Saucer. Thankfully, this one is quite a lot of fun. It nicely captures that space feel of flying through rocks and asteroids, blasting your way like you're playing a classic video game. I wish again that the white background was swapped out for the blackness of space, but by this point, I've just given up hoping that that's going to change with this era. I wish there was a little more going on, maybe another UFO flying by or more space-related stuff, but in any case, this one is arguably my favourite of the set so far, for its sense of fun, fast pace, and embracing that imaginative aspect I talked about earlier. So we've reached the end of the standard idents in 2018, but now we'll have a look at some seasonal variants. We will start with the first of the chronological holidays, so let's have a gander at bunny ears. Well, I suppose it gets the sense of Easter across. Using the character of the Easter Bunny is an obvious choice for an Easter-themed ident. Again though, like many other idents we've already looked at, it just feels very bare, and it's not a good example of minimalism. Why not litter the grass with eggs or something alluding to Easter, whilst this central sequence is being played out? Kids like seeing lots of things going on, even if they can't focus on them all. It's appealing and it hooks interest, which is difficult in itself to do with kids. Well, we do have one more Easter-themed ident, so let's see if this one can do any better. Right, okay, I think I've come to the conclusion that this sort of one-point focus approach doesn't really work for modern-day kids' channels. Yes, the situation itself here is amusing, an exploding egg from under a chicken's bum, haha, I'm sure you'll have the kids rolling around in seconds at that. But what I mean is, there is nothing else to be engaged at or look to. Like so many other of these idents, aside from the central thing being played out, the scenario is bare, as is completely white and boring bare. It's annoying too, because even if there was something small, it would add so much to the central thing happening, because the explosion thing is a good idea, it just needs some more backing up. But anyhow, we're moving holidays now, and we shall take a look at a special ident that was aired for Halloween. Finally, something a bit better. This one has a lot of charm to it, perfectly invoking some of the key aspects of Halloween that kids are going to relate to. The sense of going trick-or-treating, wearing a homemade costume, being frightened sometimes, it all feeds into the spirit of the holiday it's aligned with. Again, I think for something as visually iconic as Halloween, the designers could have absolutely filled this screen with Halloween-related memorabilia, gone for a predominantly black and orange colour scheme perhaps, just, again something more to fill the screen and to capture the all-important attention of the child-based audience. But even with what we have, this is already much better than the Easter variants. Speaking of the different holidays, we're moving on to the final and most celebrated of them, Christmas. There's a few Christmas-themed idents for CITV here, so let's start with our first one titled Present. This is one of those idents that for some reason or another feels very British in its comedic style. The idea of something emerging from a box and splatting someone in the face with a pie is such a staple of classic British comedy, and to tie it in with such a jolly season such as Christmas really gives it tons of charm. Even though the white of snow is associated with Christmas, there's no such implementation made here. So let's see if any of the other variants at Christmas do. Here's our first next Christmassy ident of the set, Icicles. A nice little blend of charm and comedy. To see the sea nervously bounce and sneeze its way around the screen, avoiding falling icicles, is strangely fun to watch. It kind of reminds me of any, snow level of a classic platformer game, dodging and sliding your way around to avoid near certain death. Obviously the ident itself isn't as darkly averse as that, but it evokes that feeling nonetheless. Aside from that, it's just super simplistic, like a lot of the set, nothing too crazy going on. Now for Christmas ident number 3, we have Snowballs. I feel this one could have been massively expanded. The notion of a snowball fight is extremely fun and a good concept for an ident aimed at a young audience. However, I feel they did the absolute bare minimum in regards to showing how fun this could be. Why not show us a huge war-like landscape showing the sea battling an enemy in a massive snowball fight? It can feel big, dramatic, epic, but still remain fun and evoke the Christmas spirit and catch the attention of the viewers. So what could have been one of the best Christmas idents ever, sadly in this case, isn't. But now we must move on to our final Christmas ident for the day on CITV, and that is Sprouts. Okay, I don't know anyone who would eat sprouts like that. It's a fun concept for an ident at Christmas. Sprouts are one of those Marmite-like aspects of the season that people either adore or absolutely despise. I'm sadly on the latter end. And whilst the burp at the end is applicable for this sort of ident as it's kid-based, it does seem a little lazy. Like, let's slap a funny sound and the kids will laugh. And whilst that may be true, it doesn't scream original. But if anything, it still presents some sort of visual that I'm sure will make kids think of that Christmas feeling. So overall, was this era of idents for CITV better than the 2013 set? It's kinda hard to say. On one hand, I prefer the fleshed out animations compared to the childish drawings of the earlier set, but at least the 2013 set had colour, whereas I can honestly not get over the white background that just dominates and overshadows the vast majority of the 2018 set. Also, the 2018 set suffers in places quite badly from just lazy design and implementation. I know all of these idents are aimed for children, but today's children deserve much, much better than what's being presented here. Maybe we'll take a look at some past CITV idents in the future, but for now, I think we gotta close this book and look ahead to pastures new. And so, we've come to the end, but before we go, the final words from our broadcaster. That was all this week for this instalment of the Ident Review. I hope you all enjoyed watching it, and we hope that you tune in next week. Be sure to check out episodes of the Now Review, which are broadcast every Tuesday evening at 8 PM. But until then, have a good week, and we hope that you join us again soon. Good night.